Okay, everybody, welcome back. It is 10 o'clock again, and we are ready to continue with the focus session. The next part of the session will be a panel discussion entitled Single Connectivity to the Target Services. So we'll be speaking about ESMIG. We have Mayte Arráez to moderate the session from the ECB. So I will hand over to her so she can introduce the panel members. Thank you, Mayte.
Thank you very much, Celine. Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So good morning to everyone. I'm very pleased to introduce today's discussion on ESMIG, that is our single entry point for all the Eurosystem target services. First of all, I would like to welcome our speakers today, Deborah, Isabelle, and Marco. They are quite known within our market participants, but nevertheless, I would like to introduce them briefly. Deborah is currently head of marketing in SIA-Colt, and Isabelle is currently head of payments and securities initiatives and market infrastructures in SWIFT for EMEA countries. And Marco Pieroni is director in Banca d'Italia, and also he is a central manager for operations within the 4CB organization. So thanks to the three of you to participate in this discussion today. So I would like to remind the participants as well, as Celine was mentioning at the beginning, that they can submit questions via the chat, and we will be using the pool, in fact, 3 times during the session today. So before we enter into the matter itself, I would like to ask the audience one question with this pool tool, because I'm curious to know how you rate yourself knowledgeable about the target connectivity services. So do you consider yourself well informed, just informed, or are you really lacking information for our connectivity options? Let's see. Okay, I don't see too many answers, Eileen.
But I assume, Mayte, we are not allowed to vote, no?
I assume we are all well informed, I hope. Okay. So we cannot see the progress now. I assume we need to wait until the end of the time.
Yes, it's very it's very interesting. You sit here and you can vote, but you cannot see anything before everyone has voted.
Okay,
so
let's
exactly. So we can keep it running in the background for another minute, and then we will show you the results.
Okay, that will be great. We will see the results afterwards and check if we can disconnect or not. So, well, as you know, I will share some slides now. I have, a couple of slides as introduction for this session. So let's see if I click on the right thing. Seems not. Yes, can you look at the slides now? Helene, are the slides shown or I'm disconnected? Oh, the screen. Yeah. Oh, okay, so you can see it. Okay, perfect. I was not sure if you were able to see the slides. So, as you know, ESMIG is the single entry point for all the target, all our Eurosystem target services. And then after the decision of the Governing Council in July this year, the picture of the timeline for the adoption of the ESMIG for the different target services has changed a little bit. So we will have a gradual introduction of ESMIG across services, but the dates, especially for the T2 service, has changed. So Karen will explain a little bit more afterwards in the session dedicated to tips, but all SCTE's compliant participants will need to use ESMIG for connecting to tips already in November 2021. For directly connected participants in T2S, they will be ready to use ESMIG by June 2022. For T2 services will be in November 2022, and for the ECMS, our collateral management system, it will be at some point in 2023. The decision has not been taken yet. So these are the main dates that you will need to keep in mind, and then depending on the service that you would like to join, you will have one of these as dates as the earliest date when you will need to be ready to connect to ESMIG. So if you thought that we had no dates enough for you to remember, we have concentrated in these slides all the dates related to connectivity milestones. NSP3 is the first one. That means NSP3 means the selection of the network service provider, the NSP, that you will use to connect to all target services. In June 2021, next year, you will have NSP4. That means that all the contracts should have been completed by then. Then the following, the following one will be when the connectivity test needs to start just in preparation of the user testing. I mean, these network connectivity tests are related to the testing environments, and they will be required starting 1st of September until 30th of November next year. So you see that in NCO1 and NCO2 are already next year, connectivity test starting and connectivity test ending between September and November. And then afterwards, in 2022, we will need to have 2 new dates for connecting to the production environments. The starting date will be 1st of May, and it will end in July 2022, before the start of the pre-migration. So these are the dates for the connectivity to T2, but as I mentioned, we will have different dates depending on the service. So then having these dates in mind, we have received a lot of questions from the participants related to how they should connect, how the connectivity services are set up. So I would like to take the opportunity that Marco is with us today to ask him some questions regarding this. So the first question, Marco, will be for you. What connectivity options do market participants have with regards to the ESMIG connection? I mean, they may have different options, I assume A2A, U2A, and I assume that there are also some pricing differences.
No, thank you, Mayte. I saw the result of the poll, and it looks like that ESMIG is not so much known to at least to this audience. Then maybe before to answer your question, it's worth to recall to such wide audience today that ESMIG is the Eurosystem Single Market Infrastructure Gateway, and it is an harmonized interface aiming to make easier for the participant to access and use the Eurosystem services from a single entry point. Through a selection process that was managed by Banca d'Italia on behalf of the Eurosystem, a concession has been granted to SIA-Colt and SWIFT to provide the connectivity for the target services that are the current services that you are able to join via the ESMIG, but is potentially in the future can be used also for other services. The network service providers will provide then the network connectivity, the messaging service in user to application and to application mode, the security services, and the operational services and incident management. That's the package of the concession. Such services will be provided on the basis of a catalog, someone will call it also service descriptions, that define, between other things, also a maximum price for each items that you need to provide, you need to acquire from the NSAP in order to be able to connect to the central system. Having said that, coming to your question, the concession contract basically foresees two options. The base configuration that enables the user to access to all the target service in U2A and in A2A modes, and one option for low volume participants that allow only the user to application connection. Of course, a large flexibility exists to accommodate the different users' needs. Let me explain the concept with a couple of examples. It could be the case that a T2S participant is not interested to install the machinery needed for the connection to TIPS. In this case, then SAP can offer only the components and needs for T2S. Of course, that should be offered at a fraction of the maximum price defined in the concession. Another example is the case where a participant wants to improve their business continuity, their possibility to be connected to the central platform, and then want to have an alternative connection to the central platform. In this case, a convenient solution could be to sign the contract with both NSPs, one with the base configuration and another one with the low volume option. That is just example. Other examples can be found in the question and answer document that are available in ECB website and also in the Banca d'Italia website. Options are like the outsourcing of IT operation, sometimes called the service bureau solution, usage of the cloud solutions that are offered by both and SAP.
It's good that you mentioned the cloud solution, because one of the questions that we have repetitively received was if it was possible to have an internet connection to target services for low volume participants mainly.
Yeah, that is a very frequent question. Also, you can find the answer in the Q2A, but take the opportunity of this session to clearly say that the answer is no. Inside the ESMIG perimeter, only physical lines provided by NSAP can be used. But, there is always a but. The direct connected actors, that's the name that we identify the participant to the target service that want to have a connection, direct technical connection with the platform, can agree with the network service provider where to define the demarcation line with NSAP. Let me be more clear. If the demarcation line is established at the the perimeter, at the premises of the direct connected actors, only physical lines are allowed. Instead, if the demarcation line is defined at the location, for instance, we mentioned before, a provider of IT services, then you outsource part of your manager IT service bureau, or even in the data center of NSAP in case of the cloud solution, the connection from the DCOA to the NSAP is outside the perimeter of the SMIG, and therefore the concession contract provisions does not apply. When I say this is important, that the concession contract provision does not apply. That means all the services will be provided by the concession contract in terms of SLA, security, business continuity, etc., are defined in the perimeter of the SMIG.
Mm-hmm. And there was also another question regarding the need of a second physical line between the directed connected actor and the network service provider. This is also quite frequently asked.
Yeah, this is also the answer is very straight through. I mean, in the sense that the answer is yes. I mean, the two lines are always required. Then there is this is as a base connectivity, of course. But then there is different options. You can add additional services, ask NSAP to have additional services like multiple sites and so on, depending, of course, of the user needs.
Okay, because there are options also for low volume participants, I understand.
Yeah, for the low volume participant, yeah, first of all, you have to define low volume, and that is not easy what does it mean in terms of low volume. If you mean by low volume that have a business so limited in accessing, of course, to the Eurosystem services, that the user to application connection is enough, and then the solution is clearly what I mentioned before. You can acquire from one of the two NSAP, or both, if you want to be more protected, only the low volume option that I mentioned before. In any case, a contract is needed with the network service provider. That is mandatory. That will include what we said before in terms of lines. I mean, it depends where you put the demarcation line. You have to have also the physical line to your premise, or where you declare that is your premise. It's worth to remember, Mayte, let me add a point on that is important for low volume participant. For instance, a target participant or a participant to the target services have different participation options. I mean, that do not imply the need to become a direct connected actor, and therefore acquire the network connectivity. Examples of such situation is for instance, in target 2, the addressable participant that addressable that does not need to be DCOAS, or the co-managed, that is another role that you can, another participation type defined in target 2. If you want to do an example for tips, we call it tips in the reachable party. Now, maybe you have to, we have to start to harmonize between the different services, but from technical perspective, example of indirect participation. And you can fully participate to the system through the connection, the technicalities to another participant at the end. Another example in T2S, we have also in T2S, there's another name, another acronym that is called indirect connected parties. But then a participant, the first question you have to ask to himself is which kind of participation time. Only if they decide that due to their business need, they want to have a direct connection to the platform, and then we start with what we say before in terms of connectivity option.
Okay, so only in this case that you would like to be directly connected, then it's when you need to assess the options for the connectivity and then define the contract with the NSP. So only in these cases, it will be that you need to comply with the milestones. No?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you very much, Marco. There are also a couple of questions that are more related to legal aspects. One is this one about the necessity of having a contract for an NSP, but it's also a repetitive question. I mean, if the NSPs can subcontract their activities to other providers, and in this case, how the legal setup will look like for these scenarios.
I said this morning that I need the lawyer near to me today. Thank you, Mayte, for this question. I try to answer. The answer is yes. I mean, they can use subcontract, but the contract is always signed with one of the winner of the concession contract. Then it's the two ladies that we have here in the panel, and or both. And the NSP then assumes the obligation of buying the line for a subcontractor, if they want to do so. But the contract is always with the NSP. It's the classic subcontractor scheme.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's quite clear, Marco. Thank you very much. So now that we speak about contracts and legal issues, I mean, I will also like, Eileen, if you can open the other question that we have for the audience. It's your contract with a network service provider in place? Yes, no? I would say please ask, I mean, please answer one of the two if you need to set up a contract with the NSP. And then if you have done so, then your answer will be yes. And if it is still pending, the answer will be no. And not applicable if you don't foresee to have this connectivity, this direct connectivity in place for our target services. Okay, so since we have this time limit, I would say that maybe we can, while we wait for receiving all the answers, then maybe we can start with Deborah. She will also present the services and the proposition of SIA-Colt for providing the connectivity to our Eurosystem target services. So, Deborah, please. We cannot hear you. I don't know. No.
Can you hear me?
And now, yes.
Yeah. And can you see the slides?
Yes, as well.
Can you see them properly? So full screen?
We see it partially, but I think it's okay. I mean, I see one and then the second one.
And this one?
It's better.
Now it's better?
Now it's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the experience we are having with the virtual communication. So good morning to everybody, and thank you to ECB for the opportunity to virtually meet with all of you and share and discuss the major change that ESMIG is bringing to all of us, because it has been designed with the aim to support a more and more transactional and low latency communication model. So let me start to share the two musts for the new ESMIG network service provisioning. The first one is that all network components have to be directly provided by the network service provider, from the lines, premises participant or outsourcer of the participant, to the complete set of the hardware and software connectivity equipment. All parts have to be managed by the network service provider under its own contract responsibility. The second must is the end-to-end service guarantee. The network service provider has to be able to sign a service level agreement and service level objective covering the full service chain ownership. And just a small note, SIA has consistently proven in the last period to reach 100% of connectivity availability, thanks to the investment as well as thanks to the experience we have in managing this type of mission critical services. So if I may, I will move to the first must, focusing on the scope of the provisioning of the service. We designed, we are delivering, and we will manage them with the aim to give a peace of mind to all participants. We are responsible for the provisioning of the full set of service components. The use of a component, it is admitted, but the network service provider has to own, manage, and contractualize that component. We also granted the compliance to the concession contract perimeter that clearly state that lines, routers, gateway, HSMs at the participant premises are included into the network service contract. And we also take the responsibility as mandatory to give the optimal sizing of the service consistent with the discussion and the information we share with the participant. Moving to the second must, that is the end-to-end service guarantee. SIA-Colt natively design end-to-end service, connectivity service. This is our model. This is how we work. And we know very well that this model is based on 5 main pillars. First one is that all components have to be contractualized under the responsibility of a single subject. And this brings value also during the project, during the migration phase, because we can set up a tailored project plan, including all the key milestones and the dependency for the different components into a single project plan that gives benefits to the participant project manager, and to us in order to smooth the migration and, of course, reduce the risk around it. We also provide a single access gateway to tip 2, reducing to the minimum the integration risk. That together with the other value-added service we have, like for example the simulator, allowing to test the full payment and cycle, verifying for the participants own data flow coherence and consistency, together with, for example, the format translator that speed up the migration process, ease and smooth the project delivery. We, in end-to-end service, we do provide the full maintenance, meaning we remotely manage all the network components. We have on a regular basis updated and release of the system software, the gateway software, and also we take full care and with high attention to security and cybersecurity with ad hoc patches when required. We do provide also 24/7 support with a proactive monitoring and operation, with sign first level service level agreement, consistent with the concession and consistent with the quality of the service we want to share with the participant and we want to grant to the participant. And we also define together with them escalation procedures in order to apply them whenever they are required. And last but not less important, for an end-to-end service, our service is secure by design, because it is based natively on a logical network architecture that is a peer-to-peer. We do not need to store any data. We do not need to analyze the content of any message of any file to properly deliver it. All the components are redundant, so there's no single point of failure. And we do provide all network gateway with high performance HSM, as well as we have the full encryption of the chain of the communication. So reducing to the minimum and avoiding any opportunity to get into the communication process. And finally, we share with our participants the SIA-Net security program, basically a full exhaustive list of checks and certification that needs to be verified on the border of the service of the network service program in order to be sure that everything is in line with the standard that has been set for this type of mission critical service. So SIA and Colt are a successful strategic partnership. We have a long-lasting relation. We started together with the adventure of the targeted securities. We went successfully live in September 2015, and we were ready in November 2018 for tips. We are both leaders, SIA in the secure messages and Colt in the high performance connectivity for the financial community. We are both quality driven and we are both experienced in providing mission critical services. So that's why we believe to have a unique proposition, a unique positioning, both at the migration phase as well as at the live phase. In the migration phase, being natively an all-inclusive offering in terms of components and end-to-end services, we natively design all-inclusive projects. And we have a full monitoring of all the main milestones and interdependencies among them. And this is up the activity of the participants too. And we mirror this type of full integration in all the different test environments we dedicate to the client. So it can be the performance, it can be the functional, it can be the technical, as well as the integration or the acceptance at the end. We have proven to deliver highly transactional network communication project successfully, and we bring this expertise to share it with the participant. We also, for example, certified more than 20 software vendors. This is to ease up the integration of the participants and also to grant and reduce the risk of the overall activities. Then, of course, if we move to the live phase, we natively grant the low latency because we are peer-to-peer. We have a peer-to-peer technology. We have proven 100% of availability, and we sign first tier service level agreement with our client. And as described before, our service is secure by design, with a particular attention to the cybersecurity. So I would like to leave you with a last message, that is the further value that ESMIG brings to the financial community. It gives the opportunity to have an alternative connection that each participant can decide based on its best interests. So it is possible to have two network service provider connection, and each participant can decide to select them based on the geography, for example, certain countries, a region, per market infrastructure, T2, T2S, tips, per type of service, so message FIDs, or per type of access. So now all participants can decide to choose a specific NSP for a specific need at their own best interest. So I thank you for the attention, and we are ready to deliver the end-to-end service at the quality level we are used to.
Thank you very much, Deborah. Thank you for presenting the proposition of the solution of SIA-Colt. Sorry for the previous mistake. So thank you very much. And now, Isabelle, yes, for SWIFT, if you also have a set of slides, I understood. So maybe, I don't know if you can have the presentation board from our colleagues, and then you can share them.
Yes, thank you very much. Good morning to all. And I guess that the most famous question is, can you hear me? I guess it's yes.
Yes.
And then the next question is, can you see my slide? And I guess the answer is yes as well, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I expected Deborah to deliver a presentation on the SWIFT value proposition for ESMIG. I've been a bit disappointed, but more seriously. Good morning to all. Thank you very much to the ECB for giving me the opportunity to address such a wide audience from home. I must admit, it's the first time ever. So that's it. SWIFT, I do believe, doesn't need major introduction. It was already mentioned a few times today. SWIFT is the global secure network that offers a single window to the financial industry. Most of you, if not all of you, are today connected to the SWIFT network, and you use that single technology to access 11,000 players globally in more than 200 countries worldwide. You use it to access 8,000 correspondent banks, 2,000 corporates, additional financial institutions, and 235 market infrastructures of different nature, of different business. The market infrastructure services are critical to you. They are therefore critical to us. And that's basically the reason why, in the ESMIG context, we have made a development to allow you to again use that single window also for ESMIG in a simple manner. Whereas the target services ESMIG requires the service provider, the network service providers, to adopt specific protocols to interact with the different target services, we have made a development so that we shield you from all that complexity. And we allow you to reuse the existing generic messaging services that you already use today or will be using or have been using with the 11,000 institutions that are today connected to SWIFT, namely Interact, FileAct, SwiftNet Instant in the context of the target services. That's a very important message because it actually means that if you are today already connected to SWIFT, you have already the assets to connect to target easily in the future. With little or no investment, you can actually tick the box in your project when it comes to connectivity services. I realize that the menu of connectivity might be a bit difficult to swallow, and Marco has I think, done his utmost to simplify all that. What I could advise you to do is, if you need help to read the menu and understand the options you have, cloud, no cloud, lease line, no lease line, and so on and so forth, U2A, A2A, just reach out to your account managers, your relationship manager in SWIFT, or use one of the links that you will find in the last slide of my presentation when it will be posted on the ECB website. So again, the solution for ESMIG reuses the generic messaging solutions that you are already using today or will be using in the future, not just for ESMIG, but for other counterparts as well. In the spirit of supporting our community to basically face this important migration, we've decided to go beyond the pure connectivity services. And we have therefore developed a number of value-added services and products, again with the objective to facilitate you in all steps of your project, from the thinking phase, the impact analysis, up to the development, but also for the migration, where we have a wide experience of managing large scope migrations, but also in the day-to-day operations of ESMIG connectivity. Our consultants have been delivering already to a number of you missions to support you in your ESMIG project from a standards perspective, from a technical integration, or even a business perspective. We have also defined and developed, based on products that can be reused for other similar projects, a number of integration tools, but also on-premises translation, enrichment, and validation products that can help you also in the context of ESMIG. And last but not least, we have also there a menu of different services and support when it comes to testing of your development, when it comes to target you. That goes from the simple online testing to the end-to-end simulation. So again, these services are all optional, can be developed by yourselves or done in different manner, but here we have off-the-shelf products and services, skills and expertise that you can use in the context of your ESMIG project. Why should you use SWIFT for your ESMIG project as you partner for the ESMIG project? Well, I think I've made it already quite clear, because it's going to be easy, because you will not need any specific training. You will not need to define new procedures. You will potentially do a very reduced investment or no investment at all, and be able to connect to all the target services easily, smoothly. It's a kind of peace of mind. Ticking the box, I would say, quite easy when it comes to network service providers for ESMIG. But there are other reasons. ESMIG and the target services will all be using ISO 20022. ISO 20022 is the de facto standards for the financial industry. It's the only standard that really allows for rich data to be exchanged in a structured manner. And that basically unlocks a number of major benefits for the banks adopting ISO 20022. When it comes to payment, it allows for sure to increase your level of automation. It facilitates your compliance duties, and it certainly improves the services you can offer to your customer. Who better than SWIFT can help you in adopting ISO 20022 in the best possible manner, defining your ISO 20022 adoption strategy, or supporting you in implementing ISO 20022 in the context of a project like Target 2. Well, probably no one better than SWIFT, who again was born to standardize the financial messaging and who is the registration authority for ISO 20022. SWIFT is a cooperative, it is banks governed, it is bank centric. The banks are at the core of what we do, and that will actually stay. You are, again, the core and the center of our services. SWIFT is a bit of a strange animal. We are a non-profit company, as you know. We could be seen as the platform where the banks come and discuss common issues and co-create with us common answers of products and issues that are not in the competitive area, but which are in the cooperative area. And last but not least, selecting SWIFT for ESMIG means also unlocking the power of the future strategy of SWIFT. You might have read in the press that the SWIFT strategy has been endorsed by a board last week. The strategy is actually based on a very simple statement. Doing messaging services, transporting messages from A to B brings value. We've been doing that for close to 50 years now. But to go to the next level and bring more value to the industry, we need to move to a messaging platform end to end. This journey is a journey that we have already started with GPI. GPI has demonstrated that it brings to the community more transparency and more efficiency in the correspondent banking world, which was seen by many as an old-fashioned type of business. Our strategy aims to go further into that direction, to accelerate the roadmap of GPI, to enrich it, but also to bundle in a platform a number of services that SWIFT was also already offering, will be offering in the future, and that other partners could be offering through that platform. Because we do believe that even if each of them have a value, the combined, the bundled of all these services will actually bring an exponential value to the community. The aim of our strategy is to deliver instant and frictionless international transactions with full transparency, end-to-end integrity, and global reach, supported by smart and rich data and mutualized services. What does it mean? I'm not going to enter into the details again. I think it might be a bit complex for you to go through that now, and I would not respect my time limit, but we are building a state-of-the-art platform. That state-of-the-art platform will allow what? It will allow a number of elements. It will allow for end-to-end transaction tracking with predefined SLAs and rulebooks, but also monitoring. That will allow for more transparency and predictability of the transaction end-to-end. It will allow for rich data to be validated by SWIFT. Depending on where your payment has to be routed to, you will have to comply with a number of requirements. You will have to provide a number of informations, optional fields or not, for instance, like the account number of the beneficiary together with the name, yes or no, and so on and so forth. We will make sure that the payments, what it's created, has all that data as from the very beginning. That will increase the efficiency of the payments. The rich data will be, again, validated, also stored and remain immutable, available to all transactions in the chain. That will actually ensure an end-to-end integrity of that data and payment transactions. The platform will be accessible either via FIN, MT, via ISO 20022 in both messaging, interact, or API mode. That will not only allow for flexibility, so each user will be able to define what's the best way to interact with the platform, but since that data will be always available, the rich data will also be available in the platform, it will also mean that the weakest link issue will be solved. So if in the middle of a transaction, a player is not capable to swallow in its application the full data, the ISO 20022 data, it will be able to request the FIN messages, but still access in the cloud, in the SWIFT cloud, the full data, and potentially use services like screening by the platform to comply, to actually do all the compliance duties they have. That brings me to the other point. Again, the platform will give access as a plug-in way, basically, to a number of mutualized services. We have realized that a number of services, a number of tasks are done repeatedly by the different actors in the chain in a way that's not very efficient. So the idea is that through the platform, every bank in the chain will be able to access and use in a mutualized manner a number of these services. That can be, again, a link to the screening of transactions, fraud detections, and so on and so forth. Last but not least, the data that will be in the platform is rich data. The rich data will be used to provide better services. Data analytics will be developed to, again, allow you to improve your services to your customers. So in a nutshell, we aim to deliver a co-created platform with you and for you by November 2022. In a nutshell, we are committed to ESMIG. Use us as partner for network, but potentially even more in the context of ESMIG. It's going to be simple. It's going to be the same experience you've had so far with SWIFT. Sorry, Mayte. So use us for SWIFT for the simplicity of using the existing, well-known and trusted company and services. But again, by using us, you will ensure that you still get the benefits of that end-to-end transaction as you have today in GPI, but also in the future with the mutualized platform to together deliver that instant frictionless transaction end-to-end with global reach. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Isabelle. That's the beauty of the virtual events, that you still have your laptop ongoing, producing noises. Thank you very much. I think it's, after hearing from both of you, I think it's a difficult choice. I think that both NSPs are providing different but highly value services for our participants. So I see that only 1/3 of those who answered the questions have still pending to decide between one of the NSPs. So I hope that these presentations have helped them to really understand what the services are offered by both of you. So thank you very much. It seems that we have a lot of questions from the audience. I was chatting with Aline in the meantime. But first of all, I would like to ask Marco also another question that we have been receiving after listening to both of you. All these features of the service that you are providing will be, as Marco mentioned, described in the service description documents. And we have also received some questions about how can the participants check if these service description documents are in line with the concession contract that Marco was mentioning for the ESMIG connectivity services. So I don't know, Marco, if you have an answer for that.
Yeah, the service description document has been checked by Banca Italia as agent of the Eurosystem for this concession contract that are fully in line with the concession contract itself. Then this has been checked, discussed, and finally approved. And due to the complexity, I must admit that in some cases it takes a while in the dialogue with SWIFT and SIA-Colt in order to finalize this document. But now are available and then can be used by who want to buy this connectivity.
Mm-hmm. And they will be provided by the two NSPs to the potential clients.
Of course, together with the prices. Concession contract define the maximum price, then it's up to the market to arrive to define the final price for the user that cannot for sure go over the prices defined in the concession contract.
Okay, thank you, Marco. Aline, you can start with the questions that we have received through the chat.
Yeah, so we're receiving a lot of questions, so we won't be able to go through all of them. Sorry for that. But maybe I can start with one we received now. It's a question to both SIA and SWIFT. So the question is, can we connect to ESMIG via an API? I don't know who wants to start.
Deborah, please feel free.
Maybe I can intervene because it's not, I mean, the ESMIG foresee a number of services. We mentioned a U2A and A2A. Between A2A, we defined the usual real-time messaging services, store and forward messaging services, file transfers, but not API. At the time where they started with the discussion, there is for the moment no business need for the Eurosystem services to use this technology than API. That is, of course, something that is growing, but the concession contract itself is a long contract. It's 10 years contract. Then we can imagine if we have the opportunity to change, and in case they materialize the business need to use API, one of the services that is used by the user is ESMIG, that want to add this technology is something that we for sure we will include in the concession contract that would require the change request would require some process, of course, but would be possible. But the reason why it's not in the concession contract itself, because there is no requirements from the services for the moment.
Mm-hmm.
We are fully in line, and also we can share that API is becoming a standard. So it's something that on a proactively basis we are going to work together with the Eurosystem in order to understand how to have it on board.
Indeed, and I would even say that that investigation can also be actually already implemented when it comes to the premises of the customer, between the infrastructure, the application of the customer and the connectivity infrastructure. That's also something we're looking at. So stay tuned, I would say.
That's good. Eileen, what else do we have? Or maybe I can answer to the previous question. We had a question stemming from Dimitri's presentation already about the testing, the publication of the testing of the test cases. Just to clarify, we will have, maybe I can answer now, we will have mandatory test cases for participants that will be quite limited, just to ensure that they can connect, receive messages and process them and send an answer to the platform. But the final version of the mandatory test cases is planned to be published by November next year. Although we are also thinking about an interim version that should be also public during the summer next year as well, so market participants can start preparing their test cases. Eileen?
Yeah. So back to me. So I'm picking here randomly. There's lots of questions coming in. So we have one that is asking if the person has understood correctly that a U2A user should use 2 physical lines for connecting to ESMIG. Marco, maybe that's for you.
Yes, the answer is a clear yes. I mean, you need the 2 physical lines, but actually you don't need, it's not enough. Huh? You need to acquire a number of items. If you, I mean, 2 minutes just to, then you need to acquire the point of presence, I would say. Then the physical lines, we can say you have to acquire the minimum set of hardware components. You have to acquire the register, you have to select the registration fees, you have to pay customer support, and also, of course, the certificates. I mean, it depends on how many certificates you want to buy, and pay the browsing fee. That are the cost items for U2A connectivity with the low volume option. But it looks like a long list, but thanks to the tender, thanks to the competition between the two, the price is, my appreciation is really low. I mean, it's comparable with the setup of an internet connection, that the cost that you have to set up for an internet connection with all the protection that you have to buy by yourself on top of that. But I cannot say how much, because that is the task of Deborah and Isabelle. But the appreciation, it's very competitive, I would say, prices that has been done by both providers in order to allow you to a user with a low volume, as I mentioned before, to access to the ESMIG services.
Okay.
If I may, I would like to answer to one of the questions I read there, is that can one use an NSP for T2T2S, which is different from the NS from TIPS? It's just an example, of course. And I just go back. Yes, the answer is the alternative connection, and that's kind of a new value that is bringing to the participants. They can select the network service provider per their interest, differentiating them among us and Swift in the contents they prefer to use them with the value we bring. It's a further opportunity.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Deborah. We have more questions. I see a couple of them that maybe I can answer quickly. If we have different milestones for the central banks, yes, we have different milestones, and we don't have the same as we have shown today, because the focus today was for the participants, but the central banks will need to connect earlier because their testing starts earlier than the user testing. So they have different and earlier dates. We have also another question: if we will publish the set of documents, including all the contracts that need to be signed. It's no. I mean, for the participants, it's a relation between the participant itself, the DICOA, and the NSP. So we will not define any contract template or anything similar. So I think, I mean, there are too many questions. I mean, that's good because it seems that the topic is really interesting for the audience. And I think maybe I can select also a couple of them. If one NSP if a participant can use an NSP for T2 T2S that is different from the TIPS NSP, is that possible?
I said, you just said by Deborah a few minutes ago. Yeah. Absolutely. It's interesting because many of these questions are also being asked directly to us, and then we create together with I mean all the stakeholders of the ESMIG contract the Q2A document that I mentioned before. Then, if I may suggest, Eileen, to add to the presentations to the presentation of today, also the link to the ECB or Banca Italia or both, but in any case, are the same document where this question and answer document is available, because I believe it's really now it's becoming quite important number of questions that has been answered. We reached the 27. For instance, the last one is exactly covered by the question number 12. Just to say that that will be, if we are not able to cover all the questions, the users, the participants who wrote today can go to this document to find any question. If they do not find the answer, they can always use the ESMIG email address that also maybe you can ask Eileen to add to the presentation to ask a specific question, and then we will answer directly to who answer. But if it's general interest, we will update the question and answer document.
Yeah, the question and answer document is frequently updated, as Marco was explaining. So indeed, it's a good proposal, Marco, that we distribute again the link to this document that is published also in Banca d'Italia and ECB web pages. So I mean, we can really direct all the questions there. I think that most of the ones that I see left are answered there. I don't know, Marco, if you would like to pick up another one.
There's a few asking questions about, so if you have an agreement with one NSP, do you then need to design a new agreement for the new contract? So there's these questions coming in.
That's a complex question, I believe, that is covered again by the question number 17, and then the answer is yes, you can reuse, but it's very short now. You really go to the document to check the detail, because otherwise it will be very long explanation. But you can reuse, but you have to sign a contract, a specific contract with the NSP for this usage for the ESMIG. That is crystal clear.
I confirm, and there is a question which is really, if you are connected to SWIFT, is it enough? Basically, well, actually, no, you need indeed to go through what we call the e-order. So it's an online form that you need to fill in and send to indeed activate, if you wish, the contractual relationship between us when it comes to ESMIG. So it's easily done, and we have actually close to 700 DICOAs, so directly connected actors, that have already done it so far. So I was a bit surprised that only a few had answered the question before, but yes, you have to do it.
Okay, thank you. So then let's ask the audience the last question that we have prepared. Do you think that you are better informed after today's session? Yes, no. It's a very simple question that I hope that we have helped to improve the knowledge of our participants regarding connectivity services. I think so. Thank you very much to all of you for your quite clear explanation and for your participation in today's session. I assume that we will see more presentations like this as long as we are moving also to other target services as well. So thank you very much. Thank you for participating.